Everybody, what's going on? I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from the Black Wealth Boot Camp, and I just woke up this morning. As you can tell, you might be able to see the sleep in my eyes, but it's interesting. I'm tonight. We're holding our Black Wealth Matters forum at Howard University in the business school, and I'm excited about it. We've had well over 1,000 people that say that they're going to come out, which is going to be interesting because I think the place only holds about 500 or 600 people, but I hear they have an overflow room, and usually when the number of people that RSVP is not always the same as the number of people that actually show up. But anyway, with that being said, somebody sent me a message today when I woke up that really got me thinking, and I don't know, made me feel the need to kind of dig in and talk about it a little bit. They asked me, they said, Dr. Boyce, you support HBCUs. I've heard you talk about them. Why don't you teach at an HBCU? And it's funny because my relationship with HBCUs is modestly complex in the sense that I support HBCUs because black people are there. But in a way, it's a little bit for the same reason I might support athletes in the NCAA or inmates in the prison system. It doesn't always mean I support the system itself, but I support the individuals in the system because I think that HBCUs, and again, I'm not saying HBCUs are like prisons. I'm not making that direct comparison. But what I am saying is that many of these HBCUs, unfortunately, were not created by black people. And Dr. Claude Anderson and I talked about this extensively last night. He came by to visit with his wife, Joanne, and we talked for a while. Dr. Anderson is the author of the book Powernomics. You should go check it out. And one of the things that we discussed is that he said it doesn't make any sense, and I agreed with him that many HBCUs have departments that have been entirely taken over by people who are not even African American. You'll have Asians and Indians and people from other countries and whatnot that are in there. And I would remember being flabbergasted when I did an interview at an HBCU, and because I have, there have been years where I've tried to teach at HBCUs back earlier in my career, and it was so interesting. I can give you three examples of when I tried to work at an HBCU when I looked into it. One example was when I went to do an interview at an HBCU in North Carolina, and I remember being stunned when they told me that the entire business school didn't have a single African American male professor. And I remember thinking, how is that possible? I mean, you serve all these African Americans. How can you not have a single African American male professor? We're out here. They exist. And here's the thing. Here's what I figured out. I think at the time the dean was Chinese or something, which again is kind of funny, right? And so I applied for the position. If they were looking for qualified professors who could do the job, I certainly fit the category. I mean, I learned from I studied under some of the best people on the planet in my field. I mean, getting into the programs I got into was not easy. I'm not one of those PhDs you see on the internet where you can't look up what school I went to, what I wrote my dissertation on, and all that. For the record, when people get mad or offended when you ask them where they went to school, a lot of times it's because sometimes their PhDs are not real. There are a lot of fake PhDs in the world, just so you know. But anyway, so my credentials were really good, but no, they didn't hire me. But yet at the same time, you claim that you can't find any qualified African American male professors. And there are some things I can't do, but I'm qualified to talk about money and teach about money. We have thousands of students. I have thousands of students on the internet right now. But then another example was Prairie View. Oh, jeez, I just said the name of the school. Okay, the cat's out the bag. I did reach out to Prairie View. Someone at Prairie View. There was a contact about maybe a decade ago who was looking into, because I was looking into leaving Syracuse because my racially charged work was not a fit for that department. Again, white folks lose their damn mind when you start talking about race in an honest way. They just can't handle it. And so anyway, so I was looking at at Prairie View, and I talked to one of the faculty members, and she was a kind of a high-ranking person there, and she got on the phone with a mutual friend, and I think the friend taught at school at Rutgers or something, and so we all got on the phone, and they gave me this counseling, almost like an intervention that was designed to be helpful to me, but it really sounded like one of those Negroid conversations that you hear where there are other black people telling you to stop being so radical or you're going to mess up your career, right? So but the thing is, I wasn't going to stop doing what I do because my goal is to speak the truth. I'm not going to be scared to do it. So we were on the phone, and I remember she told me that She said, well, to teach here, you're going to have to let go of all that other stuff that you do, outside of the classroom. And I was like, what other stuff? You talking about the stuff I do online and the writing and the speaking? And she's like, yeah, you got to get rid of all of that. And so I'm like, okay, so you're telling me to get rid of all of that, to kill off, to literally chop off a part of who I am in order to fit in, which is something that we're used to doing as black people, unfortunately, where we're being told constantly that who we are isn't good enough, that there's something wrong with us talking about our blackness in an honest way. And and I said, well, why would I do that? I mean, it's an HBCU. And she said, well, a lot of HBCUs are very conservative, which is true. And she said also, you don't want to make your colleagues jealous or uncomfortable. And I said, well, I'm sorry if what I do, if my quote unquote success or whatever you want to call it makes people uncomfortable, but I can't shrink myself to fit in so that people can be happy. I mean, and that's the funny thing. I mean, it's true in life at all levels. It seems that people are happier when you're not succeeding, right? When things start going well for you, they start getting mad. It's very strange because I never went out of my way to rub it in anybody's face. And so, of course, that option was off the table. I said, no, I'm not going to stop doing what I do. I think it's working. I think it's helpful to a lot of people. I got a lot of people on the internet. Even back then, this was a time when not as many people knew of the work as there are now. But I said, there are a lot of people I think who need me out there, and I'm going to be there for them. And I'm not going to let you talk me out of this for a reason that doesn't even make any sense. Especially when you talk about me taking a pay cut. That was the other thing too. There was going to be a massive pay cut. I don't remember how much I was making, but I think I was making over $100 and something thousand, and the amount that they were talking about being able to pay me was far far less than that. So I said, okay, so number one, you're asking me to take a massive pay cut. Number two, you're not even going to let me do the work that I do to make up for the difference in the pay cut. That doesn't make any sense to me. And you're going to make me work twice as hard. You're going to give me twice as many classes to teach. That was kind of the situation I was confronted with, and I didn't really know what to do. So I said, okay, well, maybe I'll wait for a better opportunity. So then I had two interactions with one HBCU, one prominent HBCU on the East Coast. The first interaction with this school was when I finished my doctorate and I tried to get a position there. And my friend and I, we both graduated at the same time. We both wanted to teach at this school, and it was really interesting because this school literally replied to our applications months and months after the other schools had already replied, invited us in for a first interview and a second interview. So imagine if you're on the market and the job market is supposed to run in a certain cycle. In academia, you apply for jobs in the fall, and then in the springtime, by spring you have a position because you've already done the whole song and dance. They've already reviewed your application, met you at the meetings, at the major conference meetings or the major conference for your profession, and then they've invited you in a couple times, shown you around, and then finally made you an offer, and then finally you've taken the offer. This school didn't even do the first step until after everybody else had done steps 2, 3, 4, and 5. I mean, it was the craziest thing. I said, how do they ever get any faculty members? Because they literally took a year just to say we got your application. That was the craziest thing to me. And then years later, I reached out again about working there because I knew somebody who was there, and I said, I really want to teach black students. And at that time, I didn't know about things like creating the Black Wealth Boot Camp, which kind of nixes everything for now. I mean, because not only am I able to work with students, but I'm able to help them create their businesses. We've had almost 40 businesses come out of the Black Wealth Boot Camp, so it's actually much more fulfilling because we get to go beyond the theory and the textbook stuff and actually talk about real applications to help people solve real problems. So this is far better than anything I've ever done in the classroom. But anyway, I remember someone reached out to me about teaching at this school, and so first thing she said was this. I think at the time, let's say I was making $120,000 a year. She said, "Well, we can't pay you anywhere near that." I said, "Okay, that's all right. I'll take a pay cut." She said, "Okay, well, we can't pay you more than 35,000." Okay, right there. For a lot of people, the conversation would have been over. But for me, I was so determined to hear it out, try to figure it out, that I listened. I kept listening. And then I thought about it. And I said, wait a minute, the cost of living in the city I'll be moving to is nearly twice as high as Syracuse. Syracuse is a very reasonable place to live. This place was going to, literally the cost of living would have been at least 50 to 70% higher. So you're taking a pay cut of about a fourth of what you were making, and you're going to have a higher cost of living. So I'm thinking, well, maybe I can supplement my income again like I do now, the stuff I do now. And she said, well, and on top of that, you're going to teach. Right now, you teach maybe let's say I was teaching 3 classes a year. She said, here you'll have to teach 5 a year. Um, and I was like, I don't know how that's going to work because I can't make any other money, and I don't know. I mean, I don't understand this. I mean, it was so basically. I've had a lot of dances with HBCUs, and it's always weird. It's always very very weird. And so what's interesting about HBCUs, which many of which were not founded by black people, just for the record, Dr. Umar Johnson actually, I give him credit for this. He says that a lot of HBCUs were created by white people to teach black people to come and work for them. If you look at the history, go look up your favorite HBCU and look up who founded that school, Spelman, Howard, whatever. You'll be surprised by what you see. But so the other part of the song and dance is that my work is radical for the most part, which I guess telling the truth makes you radical, or advocating for black people makes you radical, or not apologizing, not being afraid of white people makes you radical. So it's like okay. Um, and so a lot of HBCUs are very conservative, but I still support them nonetheless. I wish HBCUs could get some of these really talented basketball and football players so they can get some of that money. There are a couple of HBCUs I really love: Clark Atlanta University and Simmons College. Those are kind of my top two. Simmons College in Kentucky. Actually, I need to reach out to the president of that school and help do some work there. But anyway, I just those are the schools I've adopted. So I support HBCUs adamantly, but we'd be lying if we didn't tell the truth and say that HBCUs are really struggling. That some of them, from an administrative standpoint, do things that just don't make any sense, and I don't know exactly why those things don't get changed. I've seen situations where somebody offered to give a school plenty of money to save itself, and there were bad administrators who just seemed to be making weird decisions. But again, I don't want to get into this black inferiority thing. We know that there are lots and lots of faculty and administrators at HBCUs who are very good at what they do. But one thing I will tell you too is that if you want to really understand how these schools are structured, go look at the business schools and the schools of engineering, and do a count of how many African Americans actually teach in those schools. A lot of people don't realize that many HBCUs have been hijacked by people from other countries. And the thing is, other countries, they stick together. So a Chinese person gets an important position in a department in an HBCU. A lot of times he'll hire other people from China. And African Americans, and Dr. Anderson and I were talking about this too, that we don't understand that idea of sticking together and taking care of each other. So people will literally come in and take over institutions that supposedly belong to us, but we can't go to China. A group of African Americans could never go to China and take over a Chinese university. They would laugh at you. So, protectionism is important. We've got to protect ourselves. We've got to stand up for ourselves. If we don't do it, nobody will, and we're going to end up sitting on the sidelines crying and mad because everybody left us out of the game. So that's all I want to say. That's why. So if you want to know why I never taught at an HBCU, that's why. But actually, teaching the Black Wealth Boot Camp and the Black Business School, it just, I mean, it's better. It's the best HBCU experience I've ever had because all the students are black. Think of the Black Wealth Boot Camp. I think we now have had over 1,000 in the last 6 months, and then we've had thousands more who dipped into different programs that we have, and we're able to sell this education at a fraction of what people pay to go to college. And we've literally had parents send their children to the boot camp instead of college. Actually, maybe keep them out of college for a year or two, so they can actually learn how to create a business in the 21st century, but also learn the theory of finance and economics. The same stuff I taught to college students for 20 years. The only difference was it cost $40,000 a year to be in my class. So go check it out. I think you might like it. The student reviews have been extraordinary. I know that the price point is not free, but we can't give everything away for free. We got to pay our bills. But I guarantee you that you'll love it. And if you don't like it, then let us know. We'll give you your money back. All right, everybody. Well, take care. I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World and the Black Wealth Boot Camp, and I will talk to you guys soon. Bye-bye.